I walked into school the next day, and for the first time in my life, I told a teacher what was happening at home. The classroom was empty except for us, the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows, dust particles dancing in the beams. I was honest and broke down. The words poured out of me like water from a broken dam, years of pain and fear spilling onto the desk between us. She seemed absolutely horrified, her face paling as I spoke, and before I knew it, I was sitting in the counselor's office, waiting for my parents to arrive to discuss the matter. 20 minutes later, I heard them before I saw them. My mom's shrill voice echoed down the hallway, demanding to know what was going on. My brother was with them too. Of course he was. I could hear his footsteps, slightly quicker than my parents', eager to be part of whatever was happening. The door swung open, and my mom rushed in first, her face a mask of worry that I knew was fake. The smell of her perfume filled the small office, cloying and overwhelming. She tried to hug me, but I flinched away. My body reacted before my mind could, shrinking back into the chair. The counselor noticed. I saw her eyes narrow slightly, making a mental note. My dad stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. His hands were in his pockets, shoulders relaxed, the picture of a concerned but composed parent. My brother lurked behind him, peering around with curious eyes. He was trying to look innocent, but I could see the calculation in his gaze. Ms. Patel asked them to have a seat and explained that we needed to discuss some serious concerns. The chairs creaked as my parents sat down, all smiles and confusion. "What's this about?" my mom asked, her voice honey-sweet. My brother leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I couldn't look at any of them. Ms. Patel began by telling them I had shared some very troubling information about punishment practices in our home that involved physical. She spoke clearly and professionally, her clipboard resting on her lap. My mom's face transformed instantly, claiming it was ridiculous and that they would never hurt me. Her voice rose in pitch, indignant and shocked. "We love our children. We would never harm them." When I whispered about the rice, my voice barely audible even to my own ears, my dad jumped in, suggesting there had been a misunderstanding and that I had been having behavioral issues lately, making up stories for attention. His voice was calm and reasonable, the voice he used when talking to neighbors or teachers. "We're strict parents, yes, but we're not abusive," he insisted, shaking his head sadly. I spoke louder, telling them I had marks on my knees and back. My voice gained strength as I continued, fueled by the knowledge that someone was finally listening. Miss Patel confirmed the school nurse had documented these injuries. She flipped a page on her clipboard, reading from the nurse's report. My parents exchanged a quick glance before my dad leaned forward with that reasonable tone he used when talking to neighbors or teachers. "Kids get bruises all the time," he began, spreading his hands in a gesture of openness. "We're concerned about these stories." I interrupted him, mentioning I hadn't eaten in 3 days because I wrote a note to myself. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. The room went silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioning and the ticking of the clock. My brother shifted uncomfortably. For once, he didn't look smug. He looked nervous. My mom claimed it was a complete lie and that we had dinner together just last night, looking to my brother for confirmation. Her eyes widened slightly, a silent command. He immediately backed her up, saying we did, and that Mom had made lasagna. His voice was steady, practiced. They'd done this before, presenting a united front against me. I told Miss Patel about eating at the kitchen counter alone while they sat at the table. My hands twisted in my lap as I spoke, nails digging into my palms. They wouldn't talk to me. They acted like I wasn't even there. My dad's face hardened as he said this was getting out of hand and that they were taking me home now to sort out this misunderstanding as a family. He stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. The word family sounded like a threat in his mouth. Ms. Patel stood up and informed them that wouldn't be possible today, as she had already contacted Child Protective Services, who were sending someone over to speak with all of us. Her voice was firm, brooking no argument. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. The air felt suddenly thick and difficult to breathe. My mom's fake smile vanished completely, her lips pressed into a thin line, eyes narrowing. My dad's jaw tightened in that way it did right before he reached for his belt. I instinctively pressed back further into my chair. He quietly insisted they were good parents who had done nothing wrong. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the anger simmering beneath. My brother pushed off from the wall, claiming I made stuff up all the time for attention, even lying about having a stomachache the previous week.